If you're moving to Tucson with kids, there's a good chance you've looked at Vail. And on paper, it's easy to see why. Newer homes, more space, strong school reputation. For a lot of families, it looks like the obvious choice. But in my experience, Vail is one of those areas where expectations and daily life don't always line up the way people think. I'm not going to rank Vail against other areas. What I want to do instead is walk through how it actually feels to live here and why some families really like it and why others quietly decide why it's not the right fit after a year or two. Because Vail is one of those places where the trade-offs matter more than people expect. Vail tends to attract families who prioritize these three things: good schools, more space, and newer homes. That's the combination that pulls most people toward Vail. And for many families, it delivers exactly what they're looking for. You'll often find larger homes, newer neighborhoods, and a more suburban environment than many parts of Tucson. And for some families, that feels like a major upgrade. But those benefits come with trade-offs that don't always show up during a weekend visit. One of the biggest shifts in Vail is how far your daily life stretches. You might be 30 to 40 minutes away from parts of central Tucson, from doctors, specialists, certain activities, entertainment. That doesn't feel like a problem at first, but when you're doing those drives multiple times a week for school events, sports, appointments, activities, that distance starts to shape your schedule, especially during busy seasons of life, and especially in the summer. From what I've seen, families who are comfortable with that rhythm do well here. Families who expect everything to stay close start to feel the friction. Vail has a strong family presence. A lot of newer subdivisions, a lot of families in similar stages of life. That can create a strong sense of community. But it's also more spread out than people expect. You're not always walking to nearby amenities. You're not always in a highly mixed use environment. It's more residential. It's more car dependent. And for some families, that feels calm and focused. For others, it's more isolated than they expected. One thing that makes Vail different is that many families start their search with the school district, not the house, not the commute, but the schools. And that's understandable. But sometimes buyers become too focused on school ratings and they stop evaluating the rest of their lifestyle. The question isn't, are the schools good? The question is, does the entire lifestyle work for our family? Because eventually you're living in the area every day, not just using the school. The environment plays a role as well. Many of the newer neighborhoods in Vail have less mature tree coverage, so that's less shade and more open exposure. That matters more in summer than people expect. Afternoons feel hotter. Outdoor time shifts to earlier or later. Many newer communities feel clean and organized, but they can also feel more exposed. Less mature landscaping, less of that established neighborhood feeling that some buyers are expecting. This isn't dramatic, but it's consistent. And over time, those small environmental differences start to shape how your family spends the day. This is a pattern I've seen more than once. A family chooses Vail because the value looks strong. There's more space, newer homes, great schools. The first 6 months feel great. Then daily life settles in. The drive feels longer than expected. Activities are spread out. Summer feels more limiting than they pictured. Nothing is wrong, but the rhythm feels slightly off. And that's when a family starts to question whether they chose the right area. Another question I encourage families to think about is, will this area still fit once life changes? If your children are older, if commuting changes, if activities move across town, does the location still make sense? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes buyers realize they chose a location that perfectly matched one chapter of their life, but not necessarily the next one. That's why I think it's important to evaluate where your family is going, not just where it is today. So when I talk with families considering Vail, I usually frame it one simple way, and that's space versus distance. Do you want more home, more space, newer construction, strong schools, even if it means more driving and a more spread out lifestyle? Or do you want less distance, more proximity, tighter daily movement, even if that means less space or an older home? Vail leans strongly towards space, and for the right family, that works very well. For the wrong family, that trade off becomes frustrating over time. The challenge with Vail is that the trade offs don't usually show up immediately. They show up once your routine is built around them. This isn't about Vail being a good or a bad choice, it's about alignment. For families who want space, who don't mind driving, who prefer a quieter, more residential environment, and who place a high value on schools, it can be a great fit. However, it works best when that's an intentional decision, not just a price-based decision. If you're considering areas like Vail, this is usually the part to get clear on early. Not just what you're getting, but what your daily life will actually feel like there. Because once your routine is built around distance, it's not something you adjust quickly. If you want to think about that before you decide, I've outlined how to approach it below. Vail works very well for the right family. The families who tend to be happiest in Vail aren't the ones who found the biggest house. They're the ones who intentionally chose the lifestyle that comes with it. Because in Tucson, the house is rarely what creates regret. It's the daily rhythm around it. Thanks for watching.